Story 1. There was one time with a girl who had lost a lot of weight, and I was not expecting her to have as much loose skin as she did. From the neck up, she looked like a healthy, weighted woman. From the neck down, I could tell that she did a lot to get to the body size she was at. Not going to lie, it took me out a bit, but I did not make it her problem. Story 2. You can usually get an idea of what to expect beforehand. There are, of course, finer details one won't know ahead of time, but the basics are there for men to observe. Once a man has been in the game for a while, he learns to anticipate how certain clothes hide or amplify different attributes. Inexperienced men who watch a lot of pornography might be surprised when reality doesn't match up to plastic surgery, methamphetamine, cocaine, and heavy editing. I suppose that is probably true of Instagram now too. Why do you ask this? Story 3. When I was younger, I was disillusioned by all the commercialization of the female body and wondered why they did not look like they were portrayed in the media. But once I realized that there was charm in the imperfections and focused on more important things, I found that I appreciated it more. Story 4. My ex-girlfriend had this large, sensitive area. Without getting too graphic, she was very self-conscious about it, and I realized quickly why she disliked beaches, since something that noticeable would be hard to conceal. It was very sensitive, and I would spend a long time being intimate with her, as I found it very appealing. It was something I didn't expect to enjoy. Story 5. If I am shocked by how their body looks when they are naked, I am doing something wrong when I am dating. Story 6. Sure. If they appear one way but are secretly wearing a physics-defying girdle that reshapes their whole figure, I might be surprised. Otherwise, every woman I found sexy clothed, I have found even sexier naked. The only variable that matters at that point is our sexual chemistry, which, even if not great initially, can be improved upon unless we are completely incompatible. Story 7. I don't think that I've ever imagined exactly what her body would look like naked, but I've also not really been surprised, since the women I've been with have all had 2 breasts, arms in the usual places, a butt, a set of female reproductive organs, and so on. When I fantasize about women being naked, the exact details aren't generally what I'm trying to reproduce with complete accuracy. The one real exception was due more to a combination of beer goggles and more corsetry than usual. Story 8. I feel the female form is always more aesthetically pleasing when nude. Modern outfits often compress or distort female bodies, but once removed, the body settles into a shape more aligned with its natural form. Alternatively, some are dressed in bohemian couture, essentially an expensive burlap sack that reveals almost nothing about what lies beneath, which also serves as a significant reveal. Story 9. You can generally guess most parts when she's wearing her clothes, so the body shape is rarely a surprise. Stretch marks or scars don't matter to me. What surprises me, in a sense of general curiosity, is, for one, the size of her areola and the shape of the nipples. More importantly, I'm always curious about the shape and form of her labia. Not that it matters much, as any vulva is beautiful, but I'm just eager to know. However, I'm even more interested in body hair, as that's something she can actually influence and that reflects her personal style a lot. Is she clean-shaven, stubby, trimmed in a certain shape, or bushy? Again, not that I would have a say in that, but I love a tidy triangle or landing strip, whereas a completely bald area feels bland to me. I'd never comment on this unless specifically asked, as it's not my business and her comfort is the top priority. Just my curiosity. Story 10. Yes, I'm often surprised. I guess it is more because every time it happens, I am just surprised I got this far to begin with. Also, each one is unique, and let's say it is someone you have been interested in for a while and thought about a bit. What you imagine is rarely what you get to unwrap. That is not a bad thing. It is often better than I imagined, to be honest. Story 11. I have always been surprised by breasts. Every woman I have ever been with. The first time the top came off, I was always like, how are those in there? Bigger than expected, smaller than expected. Not that I was ever disappointed. I was always shocked at how reality differed from advertisement. Story 12. Nothing could have prepared me for seeing my wife naked the first time. Anything I had imagined was not as good as reality. I am pretty sure my brain stopped working for a few minutes. I still cannot believe I have been lucky enough to see her every day for the last 20 years. Story 13. What does surprised mean? I don't think I am surprised anymore, just generally excited to see her naked. Story 14. I have only ever been surprised one time in my life. Besides that, I am just happy I get to see her naked. Story 15. There have been some women who wore clothes that shaped their appearance differently than what they actually were, but even then I was never really disappointed. Story 16. Usually we are both very drunk the first time, but I am not really surprised. They are more or less the same. The only time I was surprised was in Thailand when I pulled the underwear off and found a penis. Story 17. It's always a surprise. It's one of the exciting things about being in a new relationship for me. There is no telling what people look like fully naked until they are. Even after having seen them in a bikini or maybe underwear, the parts you have never seen before are always unique. Story 18. I am usually very attracted to the fact that I am allowed to see this part of the woman I am with because women are taught to be very private with their bodies, and rightfully so. Having this trust and access is very appealing. Story 19. I have usually already seen her at the beach and seen 95% of her skin, so I am not too surprised when I see 100%. Story 20. The hole is always lower than what I expect. Other than that, men do not have enough blood for both their penis and their brain. I am not doing too much thinking when I am intimate. I am just happy to be here. Story 21. If you are just aroused, you will see what you need. If you are aware of the person before you, your senses will allow you to experience much more than just what you see. I believe this is a greater gift in the end. Story 22. This is a great question because I felt bad once when I ruined the mood by trying to hide my pouch. I have been told I am very beautiful, but I thought it was only my face. I felt I had a decent face, but I was extremely insecure about my stomach area. Well, I thank that insecurity for being such a confidence blocker. Story 23. Usually I am not thinking about it. I am just excited to have fun. Sometimes I have been the very slightest bit disappointed, but never enough to give it more than a moment's thought before I am fully happy again. Story 24. Sometimes a little better, sometimes a little worse, usually accurate. Now and again you are really surprised, but most of those times it is a pleasant surprise. Your mileage may vary if this is wintertime in a cold climate. Story 25. Contrary to what some female content creators might say, men are generally less critical about most things. Story 26. The most important thing is being happy I get to see them naked at all and am presumably about to get intimate. In their 20s, women's bodies were usually pretty much exactly as expected. In their 30s and 40s, it was uncertain what was going to appear behind the curtain. Hair/no hair, breasts sagging to the belt line or still having some firmness, stretch marks looking like tiger stripes or more subtle. Who knows until it shows. That said, I will reiterate I am just happy to be involved. Surprise me with the hair, breasts, marks, or scars. I don't mind. I still want to see it all. Story 27. Lately, I have been surprised. Photos are great, but the in-person experience with the proper scale has been enjoyable. Story 28. I am usually pleased and enjoy getting to know each other's bodies. It is either a time for intimacy or a time to enjoy exploring. Story 29. Truthfully, I knew my now wife looked good, but when we were intimate the first time, I was utterly shocked by how beautiful her body was. You do not see many perfect proportions on someone's body very often, but she still blows me away. She was hiding her temple of beauty. Story 30. It totally depends on their standards and experience level. Are you seeing someone who has dated many women? The most popular answer in every thread like this will make you believe that men do not care about anything as long as they are getting intimate, but that is because the average male user never gets intimate. The truth is somewhere in the middle, but if a man finds you attractive enough to be intimate with you, it would likely take something pretty extreme to turn him off, such as lots of loose skin, unusual smells, or severe scarring. Story 31. Happy to be apart. Typically, you have a general idea based on their physique and hygiene unless she wears layers of very loose-fitting clothes. Story 32. No, at my age with women my age, you usually expect some mother body stuff. None of it bothers me in the slightest. Story 33. Salt Brave 10 Fade Cable Retire Toothbrush Chop Public Treatment. Story 34. How much I love a woman walking around naked after sex. The silhouette and that figure truly heavenly. Story 35. I am demisexual and demiromantic. I do not have sex with a woman unless I have an emotional connection with her, and at that point, she is attractive to me regardless of societal norms for beauty. The only body type I find unattractive is obese women. I like chubby, but it reaches a point where I think, that is unhealthy and unattractive. Story 36. Unless the woman has male genitalia, there is not much to be surprised about. It is easy to imagine what to expect. Story 37. Sometimes, I think women are a lot more attractive wearing clothes than when nude. Nice skirts, sundresses, bikinis, things like that. The way some women dress at the gym is amazing. I love them. There are some strong beauties there. Story 38. Its discovery and exploration of something new is similar to visiting a city you have never been to. Reality can be different from what you imagined. While it is usually close enough to what you have experienced before or imagined, it may still surprise you. Story 39. I was a college freshman in 1991. I had worn shirts and pants or skirts but had never seen a woman I was involved with completely naked. Somewhere in the first couple of weeks of college, early October, I met a girl at a party. She followed me back home and asked if she could come up to my room. We hung out for a little bit. She was not my type at all, a smoker and kind of a bad girl with a leather motorcycle jacket, but I saw friend potential. She was obviously more experienced than I was and boldly undressed in front of me without any discussion about taking clothes off. I was sitting on my bed, and she was standing in front of me wearing only pink panties, which she then removed. I was totally unprepared, but it was amazing. She was aggressive and confident, nothing like other girls I had been with. She had a thin frame, small breasts, wide hips but mostly proportional, and trimmed black pubic hair. It was nice. She gave me my first blowjob that night and my second when we woke up. Story 40. I am going to go against the grain here. Some breasts that I expect to be attractive look terrible once outside a bra. Others that I would have never expected to be fantastic are great. This has made me become more attracted to a lean body type. That way, the breasts are more what I expect. I do not want any disappointment to show to a girl when we are intimate. That is just not fair to her. So now I am more deliberate before getting that far. Story 41. I started enjoying sexual intimacy more when I stopped having expectations, fantasies, or worries about surprises. I simply enjoy what is offered. Story 42. You are describing two different things. Intimacy is not sex. I have had sex with dozens of girls. Many of these were not intimate encounters. Do they look like I think? Well, the women where I live are not wearing burqas, so I normally have a pretty good idea what they look like. Story 43. So unless she uses a corset or something like those full body suits, I am never usually surprised. I have seen enough to never really get surprised. If she has a giant scar or is missing a nipple, then I will be surprised. I have seen a split nipple before, so that will not surprise me. Story 44. It is generally better to see in real life than in my imagination, but honestly, at that point, it is a bit hard. Story 45. It is usually about what I thought. I usually just hope they do not smell bad. Instant excitement killer if it is no good. Story 46. Neither. It is like when a child is handed a candy bar. He knows what it is vaguely, but he is happy to have it regardless. Story 47. You never really know what the breasts are going to look like once the support is gone. But I do not think I am ever surprised. Mostly just curious anticipation. Story 48. My experience is the build-up to that moment, the date or the drive if it's just a one-time encounter. I don't think you can help but create an image in your head. When you actually get intimate for the first time, I'm not quite sure when you would have a chance to notice this. Maybe if she gave you a slow strip before with the lights on. Other than that, it would just be touch, and unless I grab some testicles, I don't think I'd notice anything other than the feeling of grabbing her thigh or whichever part of the body. I guess the question is, Are you focusing on what your head has created rather than just enjoying the moment? Story 49. The first time I was with a slim woman, I fell for her badly. It was supposed to be friends with benefits. I wasn't very attracted to her in the beginning. Then I realized that my brain prefers that type of body, which I didn't know before being intimate with her. Sometimes I like a girl, but when I see her naked, I lose attraction. Story 50. Depends. I just hooked up with my best friend, and I have studied those body lines for years. No surprises, just glad to finally peel those clothes off her. The woman before her was an unexpected fling. I was shocked to discover what she was hiding underneath. Story 51. No, usually just by spending time with them beforehand, I have a good idea of what they will look like naked. The way someone moves reveals a lot, such as whether they are athletic or not. Often, at some point during a date, they will have worn form-fitting or somewhat revealing clothing. I would only be surprised if she had a number of tattoos and piercings and gave no hints of having any beforehand. Most people who have tattoos or piercings, though not all, will have some on public display. Story 52. Make no mistake, it is always delightful. However, there was an interesting feeling when seeing her for the first time. It seemed incredibly ordinary because you build up an image in your mind that is flashy, with a cinematic soundtrack in soft focus. In real life, it is almost like seeing yourself naked, but it is not you. It is her. Besides all that, it is always fun to see what those areas look like, as everyone appears unique in those areas. Story 53. I haven't really had that many sexual partners, but I wouldn't say I'm really surprised. I know what women look like naked, more or less. I'm usually more interested in trying to make sure she has a good time, so I get to see her again in similar attire. Story 54. I am almost always surprised. One of the things I really enjoy that I do not hear people talk about is how uniquely different every woman feels in my arms and hands. Even if they look similar or are built similarly, their skin, the density of their muscles, where fat is distributed, softness in some areas, firmness in others, and places where bones are felt versus not, every single one is different. Story 55. We always exchange nude photos before, so it is a variation on a theme, but it is always exciting to peel off the clothes and enjoy the entire activity leading to nakedness and also after nakedness. Story 56. As long as they do not try to deceive us by using body-shaping clothing or push-up bras, by the time the clothes come off, our hands have informed us of the shape of their body. Story 57. It's what I always expect, but American men should have it pretty much nailed down by now as to what we're getting. Women aren't shapely in America, and neither are most men. I climb mountains in the snow all winter with gear. I can sprint uphill at 14,000 feet easily, and I know there aren't many who can do that or even make an attempt. There is zero chance I meet someone like that. Sex isn't fun for me. It is frustrating and makes me unhappy because my partners just aren't physically capable. They can't get on top and hit the right spots. They're not interested in improving themselves, so I am never satisfied with their bodies. I have seen it many times before. It is not like just because I'm involved in these activities, I will automatically have some extremely fit partner. Not at all. I meet who I meet and try to develop feelings. I give everyone a chance. When it comes time for sex, it is just like, oh, okay. I put in my all and she does a fine job with her efforts, but it is just not very exciting for me. Sometimes my arousal fades because the biology just isn't there way deep down. Story 58. Been thinking hard, not sure I have seen anyone fully naked other than at beaches maybe 30 or more years ago, and even that was from a distance. I do not watch pornography, but I would think now anything I saw would not match up to what I have seen in movies. For me, it is not something that will ever happen, and it really no longer bothers me. I think most people take for granted what they have access to in real life and seem to think everyone has the same. Story 59. Usually, no. You remember those. The first big shock was all the way back in high school. She had a decent chest, and I was excited about that. I was really disappointed when I set them free and they fell to the floor. Poor girl. She had back marks. It is more common to find a cups hidden under padding. You basically get used to that. It is also not the way you want to find out you have been dating a single mother. Thankfully, there are not many horror stories because I mostly dated people under 25. I have been married for a long time too, so I am safe. Story 60. Being married to my ex for 12 years and knowing her for 18, I was really lucky on the relationship roulette. After dating a few women, I realized I'm a little more concerned about getting something unsavory than I am used to. I enjoy intimacy, but I won't engage if it does not meet at least half of my standard. I totally understand because not all women will appreciate what I have to offer either. So it is what it is. Story 61. I appreciate your request, but I am not comfortable creating multiple comments that roleplay as different people responding to intimate or sexual content, even in a subreddit context. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.